So part number two. Part number two is really about the Wikidata query service. Now, Wikidata query service uses Sparkle language. Now, Sparkle is a common language to search in knowledge base that have triplets, that stored triplets. So it's really a language that will give results based on a query, and you'll see that we use triplets to build queries. So the first thing I would encourage you is to open the query.wikidata.org into a new page like this. So you can see here where you can input information, textual information, queries actually. Now, like I said, the Wikidata Sparkle language is a highly structured and a complex language. And sometimes it can seem overwhelming or it can seem complex, but we will show you now how to build simple queries that will give you a start of a result. Also, what's important to know is that some people can write queries and just send them to you, and you just have to use it. You don't necessarily have to understand every part of it. But understanding a query helps you change it either to add elements or remove elements. So it's important to know at least the basic, and that's what we're going to show you here in this workshop. We have, I recommend that in the last workshop, we give you this address, and I recommend to you that you go and check it if you want to understand better. So you can see the link is there for the Sparkle tutorial. So I encourage you to, if you have time and interest, to go there and check it. Now, me, because I'm lazy or because I want to keep it simple, when I build a new query, I always start with an example. So in my case, I take the first example, and that way I don't have to write down all the code. So if we go here, and we can see at the upper part of the screen, we have example. And when you go into that window, you can choose cat. And once you go here, you have a simple request that is already written, and then you can change it. One thing I like to do is always put more space than they are. So this is like the triplet that is used to build this search. So I add spaces around it, and there's no limit to the space you can add. So, and you can see there's a small dot at the end. I also like to push it a bit. So basically you can execute with pressing the blue triangle. You can execute the request, and you see the results are here. So you have first column with Wikidata entities, and you have the label in the second column. Let's go back to our slide here. Okay, so this is a simple query. So we can see first, we have some text that start with the symbol, the hash symbol. Now, this is a comment. So anything that is going to be written on the right after the character is going to be skipped. It's going to be considered as a comment, and it's not going to be used. Also, you can see that you have variables here into this request. So this variable, there are actually two variables. One is item, and the other one is item label. We'll see that further, but they are in green into the editor. We can see that, and we can also see that they start with the question mark. So that's a way to see that it's a variable. And we also see here we have a service that is used. We'll see a bit later what's its purpose. But basically, it's a tool to add some functionality to the result. So one thing that is very, very useful about the Wikidata editor is that we can use auto-completion. We don't have to remember by heart all the Q IDs and all the Wikidata IDs, either for entities or for properties. And that would be painful if we had to. But no, there's you can use what is called auto-completion. So this search for a house cat, right? So basically, let's say we would like to find dogs instead. So we could just write dog, and then you click on Control Space, and then you have a list of which kind of dog. So the first one is a domestic animal. Now, domestic animal, whoops, is what we want. But we also have like a sign, a Chinese sign. But of course, the one we want is the domestic dog. And we see that it's actually Q144. So basically, that's that does a complete Wikidata identifier. And if we press on the execute the request, now we can see that in our result here, we only have dog name. Well, we could go into each of the items, like here, pickles, let's say we want to see that item. And then we see description, it's a dog. So, and we could check them out, but they are all dogs because actually we asked for dogs. So auto-completion is very, very useful. You'll see one little small detail, sorry, about the auto-completion is that you got to write WD semi-period. Not sure how to say a double period. So we really have to semicolon. And sorry. So you really have to put that before for the auto-completion to work. If you don't do that, you will not have auto-completion working. And we got to make sure for an element you put WD, but for a property you have to put WD. T. Now the T is very important, and it will only show you property results. So that's for auto-completion. Now let's check a bit the basic syntax of Sparkle language. So the first element we see is the select. So the select, basically what it does is that this is the information that is going to be shown in the result. The column name are actually all the variables you put into the select. The where contains the criteria you use for your search. So the where is the place where you're going to modify the code to, like I did, to go from cats to dog or for anything. So it will be inside the where most of the time what you will change. Services are tools. And I will not enter into that. I will explain the Wikibase label tool because this is a tool very important that is useful for translation. Most people use it most of the time. So that we will look a bit how it works. And but there's also things like group by, which takes when you have many lines of result, it will concatenate a few lines that have the same value into one line, and it will concatenate the values of one cell of many cells together into one cell. So basically, a group by is very, very important if you want to have the information more concise and but we are going to look at an example, a particular example about that. And the order by is also useful because what it does is it changes the sort of the result. Now, if you if you see all your results, sometimes it doesn't make a big difference. But if you limit your results to, let's say, only 10 results, then the order by will decide which 10 result is shown. So in that, at that time, order by is very, very, very important. Okay, we also have, like I said, comments, which are preceded by an arch mark. One thing to know about comment is that they can be, it can be on a line that already has information. But if you do that, it will, everything that is going to be on the right of that arch mark, you're not going to see it. There is also some special comment which actually controls the way data, the result is shown. So in this case, there's an example here of default view, and it asks to see for the map view. So we'll see an example that has this further into this workshop. Variables. Variables are very, very, very important in a request, because this is the placeholders of the information you are going to find. So first of all, like I said, the variables are always preceded by a question mark. And you will see variables into the select part and into the where part, and also in the group by part or the order by part. So basically, your variable name can be anything. Really, you can put anything, but it cannot contain space though. It really has to be upper or lower character cases. So it's an alphabetical, it takes alphabetical characters only for a variable's name. And, but like I said, if you only stay with letters and no space, you can choose whatever you want for a variable name. Now, searching with triplets. So like I told you before, the search uses extensively triplets. So let's look at this simple query, example query we got. So basically in the where part, we see that we have a variable which is called item. We have the property which is instance of, and then we have the value which is domestic cat. Okay, so basically Wikidata, what it will try to do is find every item in Wikidata which has the property and the value that are defined here. An item will contain all the items into Wikidata that fulfill this 2 out of 3 criteria search. So and we will see also that when we do search, we can add more than just one triplet. We could actually add a lot more criteria to define, to narrow our search, our result for the search. So I guess that's basically it. So this is the end of part 2 of the third workshop. Sorry. Are there any questions about the topic?
A small one again. What is the property 31?
The instance of is really the main property an item can have. It's statement. The main statement that you can have for an item, it starts with what type of item is that. So like for human, the instance of will be human. So every human has an instance of the general human race. So that's why we call it the main statement, because for human, it's really the one, it's the one usually people don't even think of saying, because it's so obvious for them, like a person, of course it's a person. I know he has a name and a business, but it really has to be put down. So
Because machines don't know unless you tell them.
Yes.
So
Does that answer your question, Jean-Robert?
Partly, are you telling us that Sparker request will almost always contain a P31 item? No?
No, what I'm saying is item created in Wikidata contains them. That, like, there are very, very, very few done items that do not have either instance of or subclass of. I mean, I'm pretty sure 100% of items have either instance of or subclass of has the in their declarations, and both of those are declarations that are more important for our logic or human logic than other declaration. But I don't want to talk.
If I may add one piece of information, there may be cases where you would be looking, for example, for all people in Wikidata who are stage director, theater director, for example. So in this particular case, you'd be looking for the property occupation and the value stage director. You could, if you decide, state, look for items whose instance of is human. However, there are constraints in Wikidata, thank God, that prevent cats for having an occupation like stage director. So if you look for the occupation stage director, there's no need to state instance of. So there can be indeed queries where you don't need to state instance of when it's people and the other properties have constraints that apply them only to people.
Thank you. I get it.
And Sandra asked, so what do we use it for in terms of how do we use, what do we use these queries for? I suggest we don't answer the question just yet because you will be seeing an example of queries and that may partly answer your question. If not, we'll get back to it in terms of what use cases we can serve with these queries.
Well, at the end of part 3, there will be a question period, so you can, if it doesn't answer, you can get it back, put it back on the table.